Welcome everyone who is here. Thanks for joining us. All right, everybody. I'm very excited to share this information with you. I think it's going to be inspiring. It's going to give you a lot of hope, and it's going to show you how you too can recover from chronic illness, chronic pain, anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Whatever in that realm that you're struggling with. So, along with all of that, we're also going to give you a taste tonight of what brain training can be like, with a process that's designed to help you relax and feel really safe. So, if nothing else, I think you will leave this call feeling a lot better and having an experience of brain training. So, in the next hour, which might be an hour and a half, I don't know, I'm going to first tell you a little bit about my story of going from sick, anxious, and depressed to thriving and how I did that. We're going to talk about what brain training is and why it's an essential aspect of healing from any chronic mental, emotional, or physical illness. And I'm going to tell you about some of my clients that have healed using our approach. And then we'll give you that lovely experience of brain training so you know what it can be like. And there are a lot of different ways to do brain training or neuroplasticity, but this particular experience, I think you'll really love. So, if you have been debilitated by chronic physical symptoms, anxiety, panic attacks, PTSD, we want you to know we know exactly what you're going through. We have been there and done that and come out the other side. And so if you're in the place right now of not being able to do the things you love, you're struggling to take care of your family, or even getting out of bed in the morning, eating normal food, or sleeping restfully, getting to school or work, we feel your pain on that too. And this webinar is absolutely for you. If you're in the place right now of feeling like all the joy and fun has been drained from you in your life, and you can't even remember what life was like without constant misery, please keep listening. You know, if you're in this situation, I know that you probably feel defeated and hopeless, afraid, and stressed about how or if you're ever going to get better. And I know this because I was once in that position as well. Like you maybe now, I was once obsessed with fixing myself, spending every waking moment thinking about it, researching it, ruminating on it, and then collapsing into despair and complete lack of motivation to do anything, sometimes even to keep living. So I know what that's like. You are the whole reason we're having this webinar. We want to spare you the time, energy, money, and agony that we wasted in trying to find out what really gets people well. We want you to get back to thriving as soon as you can, so that you can go and live your joy and give your gifts to the world, right? Like you were meant to do. So let's get into it. So this was me at the age of 18, vibrant and healthy as I was just starting college. I was a star student pursuing a double major in pre-med areas, and I was also working in a laboratory, maintaining a part-time job. I also played on the club soccer team and loved going to the gym. I had an active social life. So overall, my life was very well-rounded and vibrant and busy. But that didn't last very long. So at the age of 19, that's when I got sick. And it was pretty sudden and what seemed like for no apparent reason at the time. There were actually a lot of reasons why I got sick. I just didn't recognize them at the time, and it would take me a very long time to figure out what those reasons actually were. But at that age, I suddenly became so tired that I had to sleep at least 16 hours a day. And even with that amount of sleep every day, I could barely get myself to my college classes and my other obligations. And just generally, I felt like all the joy and motivation had completely left me. Over the next 3 to 6 months, I developed hot flashes, night sweats. I lost 2/3 of my hair. I lost most of my muscle mass despite not changing my caloric intake and continuing to exercise the way I always had. And I also developed anxiety and intense irritability for what seemed like no real reason. I was brain fogged, my libido disappeared, and I had debilitating digestive bloating and cramping that plagued me every single day. My sweat suddenly started to smell terrible, and my periods also became irregular. So when I say that I had a page-long list of symptoms, I really do mean that. Um, as a result of all of that, I had to let go of all of my favorite things to do: playing soccer, going to the gym, running, going out with my friends, eating out. You name it, my life became very small. I had to let it all go because I just didn't have the energy to do any of those things. And some of them I just didn't really tolerate anymore. I barely had enough energy to handle the obligations that I had stacked on my plate, but I was also trying to maintain a long distance relationship. And I actually probably should have died a few times because I was falling asleep at the wheel on a regular basis on the way to visiting my boyfriend where he lived 3 hours away. So, as you can see from all the things that I had put on my plate before that point, I was a pretty intense overachiever, and this was part of my problem. I put so much pressure on myself to succeed to my parents' standards that I hadn't even considered what I wanted for myself at that point in my life. Um, right before my health collapsed, I also had a few traumatic experiences that left me feeling unloved, unsafe, and intense shame and guilt. And I actually would carry that for over a decade after those events. I also had a toxic mold exposure, but I didn't realize that's what it was at the time. And I had been unwittingly poisoning myself as well with fluoroquinolone antibiotics on a regular basis for the frequent urinary tract infections that I got back at that time. So this was me on my 21st birthday. And you can see from this photo that all the light was gone from my eyes. I was literally just faking this smile. To everyone else, I looked pretty normal, but I felt like an unhealthy 65-year-old inside, just like nothing left. This was right before I got my first glimmer of hope and help by working with a naturopathic physician. And among other things, she convinced me to start meditating and to take a year off between college and higher education, which was absolutely a very good recommendation. But I was such a mess at that time that I started to question if I could actually achieve my dreams, right? I thought maybe I'm going to have to settle for some low-paying, crappy job because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through higher education. So I did decide to take that year off and consider my options while I tried to recover. So during my last year of college and that year off, I worked with this naturopathic physician who helped me to start putting the pieces back together. She was really the first doctor that took my page-long list of symptoms seriously. You know, all of the conventional MDs that I had been to see up until that point just said, well, your basic test results look normal, so must be all in your head, and you should just go see a psychiatrist and just come back when you have real problems. So, I don't know if that sounds familiar to any of you, But I have since heard from hundreds of other people who have been through this same dismissive treatment by the conventional medical system. And it's a tragedy and something that I'm trying to change about the system. So because the ND was the first one to give me hope and respect and a path towards healing, I decided to become a naturopath and acupuncturist myself so that I could help other people in the same way. People who were falling through the cracks, people who were not getting any answers or any effective care. Little did I know that in doing so and deciding to go to medical school, I was continuing my overachiever pattern, and it would take me right back down into the toilet, along with more traumatic experiences and toxic mold exposures during that time. So here is me on the left here on my year off between college and grad school, and you can see that I look a lot healthier. I think that was a combination of getting out of a moldy environment. I went back to live with my parents during that time, and they had a healthy home at that time. But I also just had a lot of fun that year. I decided to relax and do a job that wasn't strenuous. And as a result, my nervous system, got a lot healthier, and I got a lot healthier. And here is me at graduation from medical school. As you can see, all the light gone from my eyes again, and I look pretty unhealthy, right? My face looks bigger. I look kind of tired and bloated, and that was the reality of it. All of that was the case. So this time, while I was in medical school, my symptoms would actually get a lot worse, including the development of insomnia, depression, more food intolerances. I already had a few when I started medical school, but they just ballooned later in medical school. Chemical sensitivity, mold sensitivity, EMF sensitivity, sensitivity to everything. Actually, I became so sensitive to light and sound that I had to wear sunglasses when sitting under fluorescent lights, which was the majority of the lighting in our medical school. So yes, I was embarrassingly wearing sunglasses a lot of the time in my classes. But that's just what I had to do to cope at the time because I didn't know how to solve this issue, right? I also developed a lot of chronic infections during this time while my immune system was so impaired. Pretty much all of them: viral, bacterial, fungal, parasitic, you name it, I had it. SIBO, SIFO, yes, they all came. I developed also a lot of skin rashes and itching, and that was all a part of mast cell activation, in addition to chronic sinus headaches. So yeah, it was a fun time. I can tell you that along the way, I, of course, like probably many of you, tried every healing approach under the sun. Everything from basic nature cure to standard naturopathic approaches and functional medicine approaches, acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine, chiropractic, various types of energy medicine, shamanic healing, and for the mental and emotional aspects, shamanic healing, EMDR, talk therapy, and even psychedelic therapy, and probably more things that I can't even remember because it was over a very long period of time. It would actually take me a total of 15 years of medical education and over $500,000 to figure out the root causes of my symptoms. And they didn't teach me what I needed to know in medical school to figure that out. I actually figured it out after medical school through my own pursuit of continuing education. And then it would take me another 2 years to address those root causes and get myself well. And along the journey, I totally lost my identity as a strong, capable, athletic, intelligent woman. The illness took all of that from me. I felt like a total shell of myself. I felt damaged, like there was something inherently wrong with me. All of these things that, a lot of people think about themselves when they go through something like this over a long period of time. I lost a lot of relationships to it. I struggled to maintain even just a few friendships at a time during that time, because I just didn't have the energy to do much more than that. I lost most of my favorite hobbies, as I mentioned, because of the exhaustion and the depression. Hiking and biking, camping, playing soccer, going to the gym, dancing, and having sex. All of those were just like out of the picture. I certainly lost the feelings of joy, excitement, freedom, and optimism as well, which I'm sure many of you probably can relate to. So the reason none of the approaches I tried resolved anything for me is because they weren't addressing the root causes, which for me were, number one, limbic system dysfunction and nervous system dysregulation, which was probably the first thing that set in for me in high school. Before I actually developed any really noticeable symptoms, that was the very first thing. And I can look back and identify that very clearly now that I know about it. And it happened because of my conditioned stress programs from childhood. The overachiever pattern, the perfectionist pattern, the people-pleasing pattern, and I could go on. There were others too. And then combine that with a number of traumatic experiences and chronic stress over a period of time, that all just, led to nervous system going haywire. I also had toxic mold exposures, as I mentioned, fluoroquinolone toxicity, which is a type of antibiotic that is toxic to mitochondria, which are your little energy producers in the cells. So that was part of the reason I got so tired. And then nutrient deficiencies that were not identified in blood work. It would actually take me some rather unconventional routes to figure out those nutrient deficiencies were there. But once all of these were addressed, boom, everything started to resolve. So in whatever you're going through, the key really is to identify what those root causes are. And until you do, it's spinning your wheels. And now I'm free again. I have rid myself of anxiety, depression, PTSD, chronic fatigue, the sinus issues and headaches, a lot of the food sensitivities, chemical sensitivity, totally gone, light and sound sensitivity, totally gone, EMF sensitivity resolved, all of the chronic infections gone, including SIBO and SIFO, body aches, and probably more that I'm not thinking of. And after suffering in some way or another for 17 years, it felt like a miracle. And I know that it would not have happened without addressing my nervous system dysregulation. And for me, that involved really rewiring the subconscious patterning that had kept me stuck in nervous system imbalance for a very long time. So with brain training, otherwise known as neuroplasticity techniques, I was able to resolve the anxiety, depression, low self-worth, guilt, shame, trauma, the overachiever pattern, perfectionist tendencies, the tendency to overgive at my own expense and people please, and my total fear of having boundaries. So, brain training, it turns out, was the key that finally allowed me to make progress with my healing. All of that I did with brain training lifted me out of the chronic fatigue, brought back joy, optimism, inspiration, and passion to my life, and reduced most of my symptoms, actually, and allowed all the other medical treatments that I was using to address the other root causes I mentioned to finally work. Up until this point, I was spinning my wheels. It was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And brain training allowed me to keep moving forward. For me, it wasn't just any brain training approach that got that job done. I tried a lot of different approaches before finally finding a few that gave me the profound results that I just listed. For me, it was critical to rewire the traumas from my past that had set my subconscious up to feel unsafe all the time. It was also critical for me to rewire the roots of those draining overachiever, perfectionist, and overgiving patterns. which was my low self-worth in every case. And most brain training methods simply can't do that, which is why I'm so passionate about sharing the approaches that can. So why does brain training or limbic system retraining or neuroplasticity, these are all words we sort of use interchangeably to speak of the same thing. Why does that have the potential to create such incredible improvements in mental, emotional, and physical well-being? Well, it's because the stress centers in the brain, which operate automatically and without conscious thought, they control the physiology of all the major organ systems through the autonomic nervous system, which is basically the relay system between the brain and all those organs. So your heart, your lungs, your digestive organs, immune system, organs of detoxification, reproductive organs, and organs of elimination, all of them are controlled by the brain and autonomic nervous system. So when we're stressed or emotionally distraught, the physiology of all those organ systems changes to try to ensure our survival, as if there's a predator attacking us, right? That's what those nervous system states were actually designed for. And as such, all processes unnecessary for running away or fighting for your life, they just shut down, or they are imbalanced in favor of other processes to try to ensure your survival, right? So digestion largely shuts down, detoxification as well. Hormonal production becomes totally imbalanced as your body prioritizes production of stress hormones instead of sex hormones and thyroid. Immune function also becomes very imbalanced, and that is why we're more likely to develop allergies, autoimmunity, and sensitivities when we're in a chronic state of nervous system dysregulation, and we're also more likely to develop chronic infections in that state. And then, of course, it also becomes more difficult to relax and sleep if your nervous system feels like there is a threat to your life present, right? And so when you realize that a massive percentage of what stresses you out today is actually due to your past experiences that programmed or conditioned your nervous system to respond in a certain way, then it's no wonder that addressing the memories and belief systems and old emotional baggage held in your subconscious makes such a profound impact on both our brain and nervous system health, but also on our physical health. So actually, somewhere between 90 to 95% or more of what you think during the day, how you feel about things, and your behavior comes from subconscious programming. So basically what I'm saying is you are running on autopilot almost all day long, and the subconscious is running that show. So even if you want to think beneficial, calming thoughts and remain relaxed during your daily life and behave rationally and maturely in all situations, your subconscious may have learned to do life in a totally opposite or different way. So if that's the case, the conscious mind will almost always lose because the subconscious is much more powerful. In fact, what we like to say here at Wired for Wellness is that the conscious mind is like an ant walking north towards what you want. But if you zoom out, you'll see that this ant is walking on the back of an elephant, and the elephant is the subconscious, and it is walking south, totally opposite direction. So that ant is unlikely to ever reach its desired destination unless the subconscious or the elephant turns around too and goes north, right? So that's what we're all about doing here, is getting those two in alignment. So for you to consciously override your subconscious, you would have to pay attention to every minute detail of everything you think, you feel, and you do, and then choose to do it differently. Have you ever tried to do this with something like walking? Trying to change the way you walk is incredibly difficult and takes a massive amount of focus. It's actually exhausting. And I can tell you that from personal experience because I've tried. When I switched to barefoot shoes, I actually did this. Similarly, I have tried this with my own programmed emotional reactions, trying to rationalize my way out of the reaction with my conscious mind. Not only does it not work, but that too takes a massive amount of effort. Can you imagine trying to do this all day long with everything you do? It would take all of your conscious brain power. You wouldn't be able to do anything else. And of course, it would burn you out very quickly because that's not what the conscious mind is meant to do. But in many contexts, the power of the subconscious is actually very helpful. It references all of our past experiences and produces automation for us because it's efficient, right? Imagine how difficult life would be if you had to relearn how to tie your shoe or walk every time you did it, right? The subconscious prevents you from having to do that. Through repetition, the subconscious learns how to talk, write, walk, ride a bike, drive a car, et cetera, et cetera. And then it produces that behavior for you automatically. And that's why you can do all those things without consciously focusing on what you're doing and how you're doing it, right? Most of the time, you can actually multitask while you're doing those things, right? And that is only possible because of this power of the subconscious. However, this same amazing process of subconscious conditioning can also produce unhelpful automated thought patterns, emotional reactions, and behaviors. So if these automated programs trigger unnecessary stress and survival responses, they can really derail our health in almost any major body system, as I mentioned, because the brain controls the autonomic nervous system, which controls all the major organs. So imagine if you were triggered into a stress response 50 times a day by all kinds of things that don't warrant a survival response, like getting the kids to school or doing your job or your partner's bad mood or what somebody posted on Facebook or a sensation in your body or simply a thought, right? Like a worst case scenario that's playing on loop in your head. This is the way most people are living today, in a survival state all the time. And when this happens, most of the major body functions that we need in order to be healthy just can't work optimally, and healing can't take place. So when we're looking at any programmed thought pattern, emotional pattern, bodily reaction, or behavior, the question we want to ask ourselves is that particular pattern serving me or not? If it's a programmed stress response to something that is not a life or death situation, then it is absolutely not benefiting you or your health and may even be keeping you sick. So what do I mean exactly by nervous system dysregulation? Well, when we have a lot of experiences that have made us feel less safe and we've collected a lot of stressful belief systems, the limbic system, the part of the brain that's always making the determination about whether you're safe or not in every given moment, that part of the brain can actually get stuck in the state of feeling threatened all the time. Because in every moment, it is referencing our past experiences and beliefs about the world to help make meaning of our present circumstances and decide if we're safe. So as an example, if you've had some bad car accidents, your limbic system is likely to link being in the car to not being safe. And so when you get in a car going forward after those accidents, you're likely to feel less and less safe. Maybe you feel anxious in the car, as an example, right? And this can happen with a lot of different experiences in our lives and really impact our present moment feeling of being able to relax. So if you've had a lot of experiences that felt threatening to you or one or more major traumas, then the limbic system may essentially develop the belief that the world is not safe in general. And then it can start perpetuating survival responses all the time, pretty much continuously. And those survival responses get transmitted to all other parts of the body through the autonomic nervous system, derailing the function of all the organ systems. So in this perpetual survival state, the limbic system is actually then sensitized to perceive danger in even more situations than before and overreact to all manner of contexts that it didn't used to react to before. So this actually feeds the cycle of feeling unsafe. So in this kind of situation, that's where we see the development of, chemical sensitivities and EMF sensitivities and food sensitivities and, like major stress reactions to minor changes in your partner's, body language or something like that, right? Everything that used to be not a big deal becomes a very big deal to the nervous system. The good news is that the neuroplasticity techniques that we use can and do rewire the subconscious to give you better results, to give you more calm and more confidence, resilience and vitality, joy in your life and health and, self-love and pleasure, right? And at the same time, less of its unhelpful learned habits like false survival alarms that derail your health, self-sabotaging behaviors, negative thought patterns, and conditioned emotional reactions. So that's what brain training is. Really, it's rewiring the brain, literally changing its neural connections to get less of what it used to give you and more of what you want, including a calm, balanced nervous system conducive to health. So just like your brain can learn a new language and forget how to play piano if you don't do it for a while, it can also learn how to produce more peace and joy for you automatically, actually, and less stress and emotional upheaval. And luckily, it can be much faster than fluently learning a language or forgetting how to play the piano because we now know how to hack that learning process. And there's a ton of science backing this up now, which is super cool. That being said, and I alluded to this before, not all approaches to rewiring the brain for optimal health are created equal. And we have experienced this firsthand. All of us here at Wired for Wellness have tried many different methods, and most approaches simply try to teach you how to build new neural networking for feeling good and safe, simply by repetitively practicing feeling good and safe. And it is true that the brain learns through repetition, but it's more complicated than that. When your subconscious is holding a lot of data from your past experiences and beliefs about why you're not safe or why you can't feel good, taking that approach is like trying to swim upstream in a river. You have to fight against your subconscious, which is going to do everything in its power to override your conscious mind because it believes that that is necessary in order to protect you. So I'll give you an example from my own life. I ended up in an abusive relationship for a short period of time while I was in medical school, and I had no idea what I had gotten myself into until it was too late. And at the end of it, the person threatened both my life and their own, and that experience totally rocked me to my core and left me with pretty classic PTSD symptoms that lasted for over 2 years until I discovered neuroplasticity techniques that allowed me to rewire those traumatic memories. The PTSD symptoms were initiated by my subconscious to try to keep me safe because my brain no longer felt safe in the world after that experience. The hypervigilance and flashbacks, insomnia and anxiety, those were all my brain's efforts to remind me that I wasn't safe to relax. It was trying to protect me. Before I found the right approach to healing this trauma, I tried talk therapy, EMDR, shamanic work, and even psychedelic therapy, and none of those touched the trauma response in my body that played over and over again every day. And when I first discovered brain training, I tried the methods for just building in that new networking for feeling safe and good, right? I tried practicing that feeling and teaching my brain that that was an option, but it absolutely did not work. And every time I tried, I felt like I was fighting myself and losing. It was challenging to say the least. And ultimately, it was like trying to build my beautiful dream house on top of a pile of garbage. But once I rewired the memories from that time, not only did my ambient nervous system state improve dramatically, but when I thought about that time, there was no longer any trauma response in my body. It was true liberation. And I actually didn't know that that was possible before that point. Once that happened, then I could start building in new neural networking for feeling good and safe. And it didn't take much effort at that point. It worked and it wasn't hard to do. So I'll tell you about some of my other clients who have had similar reasons that those basic approaches to brain training just didn't work for them. And it had to do with a lot of trauma from their past and belief systems that were keeping their subconscious feeling unsafe. So what is this rewiring of memories that I speak of, and how does it work? Well, all neural networks, memories included, because memories are neural networks in your brain, they become editable when they're activated. It's like opening a Word document. Before you open it, you can't make any changes, right? Once you open it, you can add new words, you can delete old ones. Memories and other neural networks are the same. So if you have some memories that contain negative emotional content or trauma, they can be edited to delete that emotional charge and all the trauma sensations in the body that were linked to that experience. And at the same time, we can add data of safety. Then the memory, when it goes back into storage, it gets saved in this new form, just like when you hit save on your Word document. And this process is called memory reconsolidation. And it has been extensively proven by science as the way memories naturally change each time they are recalled, based on the context in which we are recalling them. But it's also a process that we can intentionally harness for our own benefit. And the same can be done with beliefs, which are essentially thoughts that feel true because they have emotions attached to them. The emotional experience we have when we think those thoughts makes them seem as if they are valid. But with many of our stressful or limiting or scary belief systems, they are very rarely objectively true. So in our approach to neuroplasticity, we help people with nervous system dysregulation and poor health to rewire these types of beliefs and memories because they are the primary causes of the subconscious always feeling unsafe. So hopefully now you understand why we're so passionate about offering you this approach to neuroplasticity that goes deeper than the repetitive practice model. We've tried every approach that exists and have come up with some of our own novel approaches as well, and we only offer the best of the best. We don't just want the people without a history of trauma or stressful belief systems to succeed and get well. We want everyone who tries our approach to reach their desired goals of mental, emotional, and physical well-being. So here are some of the conditions that may be based in nervous system dysregulation or are associated with it. So it's a part of the condition that needs to be addressed. So the list is long: allergies and sensitivities, autoimmune diseases, adrenal fatigue, anxiety and panic attacks, chronic bladder pain and dysfunction, and we're actually going to see a patient story of that, chronic pain and central sensitization, and we've got a story about that too, chronic fatigue syndrome, inflammatory response, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, memory issues and brain fog, depression, dysautonomia, Ehlers-Danlos, fibromyalgia, headaches and migraines, heart palpitations, arrhythmias, insomnia, IBS, chronic infections, leaky gut, post-viral fatigue syndrome, Lyme disease, mast cell activation, mold illness, multiple chemical sensitivity, obsessive compulsive disorder, dizziness and vertigo, phobias, PTSD, POTS, sensitivity to smell, sound, touch, and light, sex hormone imbalances, skin conditions, SIBO, tinnitus, thyroid disorders, and weight retention. So, that was a lot of things, I know. But it makes sense, right? Because, like I said, the autonomic nervous system controls all the major organ systems. So it is going to be associated with a lot of different disorders. So some people's health problems resolve completely with addressing just the brain and nervous system, right? We've seen this in a lot of cases where it's all people need in order to heal completely, because that was the only root of their issue. But for many, there is a need for an integrated approach that also addresses some physical stressors like toxins and infections, nutrient deficiencies, or hormonal imbalances, things like that. And as an example, for me, I had to address mold toxicity and use supplemental nutrients to improve my immune and mitochondrial dysfunction, which had been damaged. My mitochondria had been damaged by mold toxins and fluoroquinolones. And all of that was necessary in order for me to get fully well. So that's why we teach an integrated approach. So at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to learn more about our approach to addressing both, because we do address both brain and nervous system dysfunction and physical stressors to your health. As a naturopathic doctor who has treated hundreds of patients with complex chronic illness, and now a professional neuroplasticity practitioner, having helped many people rewire their brains for optimal well-being, I am very well equipped to help you with all of it. All right, so now let's talk about some of my clients and their stories of getting well with neuroplasticity. So this client we're going to call Ashley. Ashley had been suffering from severe and frequent migraine headaches during a time when she was overworking to the extreme. She was trying to ensure her work was perfect. She was a classic perfectionist. And she was also being abused by a narcissistic boss and struggling with some major rifts in her family and some trauma from her childhood. She put endless pressure on herself all the time at work and really never truly rested. So, when she found me, she wasn't just struggling with the migraine. She also had been severely anxious and depressed, like suicidal level depressed. She couldn't sleep. She had digestive issues, and she was always, always exhausted. And by the time she was referred to me, she had been working with a talented naturopathic physician and therapist for over a year, and she actually tried EMDR as well. She had been given, nutrients and herbs and antidepressant medications, pharmaceuticals, and none of it worked to any great extent. She was still really spiraling the drain when she found me. And she actually hadn't been working for 6 months when she was referred to me because she was so debilitated by her symptoms. But when she began using neuroplasticity techniques to rewire her traumatic experiences and stressful belief systems and her conditioned stress responses to a variety of different triggers, all of her symptoms resolved, including the migraine headaches. And that all happened in the first month of her using neuroplasticity techniques to reprogram her limbic system. She also got a new job a month into doing the neuroplasticity work and has been able to work ever since without that crazy high level of stress, even though her job is a very high-powered, prestigious job. So she's even been able to repair her relationship with her parents and is able to spend time with them and remain calm and feeling good. Her previously very low self-worth that perpetuated her overachiever, perfectionist, and self-critical patterns blossomed dramatically. She now owns her value and feels good about herself, no matter how much work she gets done or how perfect the result is. And she made peace with her body, which she used to feel a lot of shame about. So that was all really cool. Okay, now Lori. So Lori suffered from complex PTSD from many instances of an ongoing childhood abuse that lasted pretty much her entire childhood. Neglect and sexual assault all occurred for her during childhood. Her mother died when she was just a child, and then later in adulthood, she suffered further abuse within her marriages and several more sexual assaults. And, you know, she also dealt with the arduous journey of immigrating to the US to escape all of the horror of where she grew up. And she, you know, had the hard work of trying to make a life for herself and her children, not knowing the culture or language. So later, she also had quite a few incidents of medical trauma that added to her overall nervous system dysregulation. The reason she found me was for multiple chemical sensitivities that had developed several years before, that caused her to have to leave her job and totally self-isolate in her house and even avoid going into nature, which was her favorite place to be. But she couldn't tolerate any of those places anymore. Work, nature, you know, a lot of stores and things like that. She couldn't tolerate most medications or supplements. Her sinuses felt constantly irritated and inflamed, and she had frequent debilitating headaches from exposures. She couldn't tolerate a lot of foods either, and she was having panic attacks while driving, or when thinking about going to the dentist, or when thinking about going anywhere where she might have an exposure. And all that anxiety often left her with terrible insomnia. So because she was already living on the poverty line as she tried to support 3 children, her healthcare journey took everything she had financially and energy-wise too. You know, MDs told her she'd have to live with the multiple chemical sensitivity for the rest of her life. And at the same time, she couldn't get approved for disability, even though she was not even able to leave her house, much less work. She had tried talk therapy, CBT, and had no improvement from that. She had some other forms of brain training, like DNRS, that she tried on her own, as well as a few energy medicine approaches like EFT, emotion code, Eden energy method, and acupuncture, which helped a little bit, but not enough to make a dent in her symptoms or quality of life. In order for her to really transform, she needed to rewire her past traumas and belief systems underlying her ongoing stress programming. And when she did rewire most of her major traumas and stress programming within just a few months, she was able to tolerate many smells that used to debilitate her. And she even liked some of them again, which was really cool. She was also able to return to get the dental work that she needed and to sleep consistently again. And for the first time in her adult life, actually envision a bright future for herself. She no longer has constant sinus symptoms and headaches, and her nervous system is so much calmer. Okay, here's my final example for you. So Rachel came to me with chronic bladder pain that she had had for many months, which started around the time of some major upheaval in her marriage, when she started to feel unsafe in the dynamic. The bladder pain was severe and totally rocked her world, but it was not her only symptom. She also was having full body itching and hives, food reactions, fatigue, insomnia, and anxiety. It was really not a fun time. Before she found me, she had seen primary care MDs, urological specialists, other naturopathic physicians, pelvic floor therapists. And she had spent thousands of dollars out of pocket to get answers because she didn't have insurance at the time. I helped her discover that she had some occult chronic bladder infections that were contributing, and a toxic mold exposure that was irritating her bladder via the toxins she was being exposed to. as well as impairing her immune system to fight that bladder infection. And when we treated all of that, the bladder pain got better, but it did not fully resolve. And so at that point, I convinced her to look a little deeper at her nervous system and trauma. So she had grown up in a family with an alcoholic parent and a mentally ill parent, and it was a chaotic and abusive environment, to say the least. Her marriage had been the only relationship where she'd ever felt safe, and but that didn't last forever. At a certain point, when her husband started drinking too heavily and engaging in some other riskier behavior, she stopped feeling safe in that relationship. And little did she know, but that shift in her marriage was triggering all her childhood trauma. So as she rewired all that childhood trauma and a lot of the patterning, the emotional patterning that was playing out in her relationship, as well as her tendency to catastrophize about every symptom in her body, her nervous system calmed down dramatically. She learned to self-soothe successfully when life was stressful. She learned to set boundaries and communicate her emotions better. And all of this led to even more improvements in her symptoms. Today, she lives mostly anxiety-free. Her energy is great. Her bladder pain is rare and only happens now briefly if she gets very, very stressed, but she knows what to do when that happens. And she's able to stop the pain response actually very quickly by addressing her nervous system. Her digestion and skin health are great now. Sleep is also pretty darn awesome almost all the time. And what's more is her marriage has evolved in so many beautiful ways, and it has brought them closer together than ever before. Her doing all of this self-work on herself and overcoming her own patterning spurred her husband to do the same. And so they grew together, which was beautiful. So do you see any of your struggles in some of these stories, mine or these other clients of mine? I want you to start thinking about what kinds of stressful experiences and belief systems you might be holding that could be affecting the health of your whole nervous system and body. If you are noticing, that you do have some of those struggles, unhelpful belief systems, trauma in your past, and subconscious stress patterning, don't worry. Addressing all of these can actually be pretty enjoyable. Brain training is not actually, it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be, emotionally draining or any of those things that you may have experienced when trying to do mental emotional work in the past. You can actually make very big changes quite quickly and painlessly. So that's the good news. In the Wired for Wellness program, we are providing everything we wish we had gotten along our own healing journey. Our intention is to create a safe, supportive, and compassionate environment where women can heal and create a life that they love, and do that through using cutting-edge neuroplasticity techniques and health education. Social engagement is a powerful and important determinant in the experience of health. And so our aim is to create this safe healing place along with all of the tools and resources that you need to create your dream health and life. All right. I hope you learned something from the educational portion of the webinar. Now I want to transition to the experiential portion. I'm excited for you to try a brain training process today, and maybe one you've never tried before. Today, we've chosen a brain training process for helping you to feel safer, since we know that many people who struggle with chronic health issues often don't feel safe for a variety of reasons. They don't maybe feel safe in their body or financially or in their relationship or at work or with certain, smells or foods or other stimuli. So let's take some time now to help your brain feel safe again. All right. Give me just a moment. I'm going to transition to what we need to do that. Okay. So you can start to get relaxed. Make sure you're comfortable wherever you are in, your chair or on the bed. Try to start taking some deeper breaths as you listen to what I'm saying to get yourself prepared for this. So, we're going to engage in a process that will gently and easily help your body to shift into a greater state of calm. It will also help your subconscious to let go of any resistance it feels towards relaxing and feeling safe. So let's start by talking a little bit about how it feels to feel safe in our bodies. Feeling safe in our bodies should feel like we can rest, we can relax, like we can let go of any tension and overthinking, and just let our bodies be soft. So close your eyes for just a moment and just imagine being a butterfly gliding on the wind with ease and enjoying every flower that you come across. This is a good metaphor for what it might feel like for you to feel safe and relaxed. So, from this place of safety, your body can rest and recover and even regenerate itself. Feeling safe is perhaps the most important piece of the puzzle for recovering from chronic illness, chronic pain, anxiety, depression, and trauma. Even though we may not want to feel stressed and anxious, our bodies may have become so used to living off of the chemicals of stress that it can feel very unfamiliar or even scary to relax. And so let's take some time during this process to remind your subconscious that it is safe to feel safe again. Before we do that, let's take note of any subconscious resistance that may be there to feeling safe and relaxed. So let's start by envisioning what you would like to create, how it would feel if you were to accomplish this outcome of being able to feel safe in your life. What would that feel like for you? How would you know that you felt safe? If you have ever felt safe at some point before in your life, you can allow yourself to go back there for a moment and re-experience that feeling in the past, just to remind yourself of what it can feel like. And if you don't have a time in your past where you felt that way, that's okay. Just give yourself permission to imagine what it might be like if you were living with this feeling inside most of the time in your life. So I want you to close your eyes if it feels good to you. And if not, you can just fix your gaze on a point in front of you and just let yourself imagine what it would be like, what it would feel like in your body and emotionally. How you would move through the world with this feeling of safety inside you. Let yourself fully sink in to this experience. I want you to notice who you are with in this future imagining where you feel safe all the time and how they're responding to you. And then notice what you are doing. How is your behavior different? And most importantly, what it feels like to feel safe. Make that feeling as strong and as real as you can right here, right now. Good. Now just take a gentle, slow breath in through your nose and then a long exhale through your mouth. Good. And you might just want to take a moment to make a mental note or to write down, if you have something to write with, how that felt for you. See if you can describe it to yourself. Great. Now I want you to think about what it is like now in comparison to that. How do you experience your life and your body in recent history in comparison with that experience of safety? Just notice what words come to mind, what sensations, what thoughts. Good. And you may want to make note of that too, in contrast, how it feels after this process. Okay, good. Once you've got some of that, now I want you to notice what you believe about your ability to feel safe. Maybe you aren't sure how that would be. Maybe you feel like you don't know how to feel safe, or it's not possible for you to feel safe regularly. Maybe you believe it would take too much work to get to that state of being. Maybe you believe that you can't feel safe or relax because ... the world is chaos, or because I have too much to do, or because I'm sick. Whatever you believe, just notice that and either make mental note or write it down. And let's see if you're aware of what you believe about your ability to soothe yourself and make yourself feel safe. Do you believe that you're capable of that? Do you believe that you know how to do that? Do you believe it's possible? Just notice what's there. And how do you judge yourself around the fact that maybe you don't feel safe in your body all the time? Do you feel shame about it? Do you feel broken or damaged because of that? Notice if you are holding any judgments against yourself about that. Good. Now notice what emotions come up for you when you think about not feeling safe enough to relax currently. Are you frustrated about it, tired of it, sad? Anything else? What do you notice emotionally coming up about that? Write that down too, or make mental note. Okay, and finally, I want you to finish this sentence. I would like to feel safe, but what comes after the but for you? Great. Notice if there's anything else coming up for you about this issue of safety. Okay, wonderful. Great job bringing up all of that resistance. Now I want you to imagine all of it sitting in front of you. All the beliefs, the feelings, the judgments, and everything else. Just bring it all in front of you in your mind's eye. And once you have it there, then I want you to draw a big bubble around all of it in your mind. Notice how much resistance is there in total. And please give this amount of resistance you are feeling a number from 0 to 10. With 0 being no resistance, I can feel safe right now, no problem. And 10 being, I can't even imagine a world where I could feel safe. It's impossible. There's no wrong answer here. Just go with your first instinct. Notice it and take note of the number. Make a mental note or write it down so that you can compare how you feel after this process. All right, great. Now we have finished the part of the process that requires your thinking mind, and we get to move into what we call the feathering process for rewiring that resistance. So just to give you a little information about what we're about to do, the feathering process is very safe. It is designed to be gentle and can make changes to stress reactions in a very soft way, avoiding overwhelm. And using metaphor, it speaks to the construct of the subconscious. So you will hear that term quite a bit throughout the process. You will also hear other new terms like treatment team, massive change history, and others that are used to help the brain learn that it can do something different than it has in the past. The intention is always to increase satisfaction and reduce pain. And the great thing is, you don't consciously need to understand any of this. All you need to do is listen and observe what happens inside you. If you find yourself wandering in thought, it's okay. You can bring your attention back to listening, but only in a gentle way, in a way that feels easeful to you, like watching a sunrise or laying down and looking up at the clouds passing by. So go ahead and close your eyes and take a nice, easy letting go breath. This is a restful process. So please close your eyes and keep them closed and just listen. There is nothing you need to do. Sometimes people even fall asleep during this process, and that is totally fine. So take another relaxing breath in, let it out slowly. You don't have to do anything but relax and be present with yourself. Okay, now we're ready to start. So I'm going to talk to your subconscious as if it were a person. And I want you to just choose to get the most out of this process. We're going to really gently work on any resistance that you have towards feeling safe. So if you can just invite me to dialogue with you and your subconscious, choosing to get the most out of this process, that will be the best outcome. Okay. Subconscious, please do all that is necessary so that I can communicate with you. Do all that is necessary so that there are no parts of the treatment team that do not wish to be taught. Subconscious, I want you to imagine that the brain is like a smooth playing field with no bumps. And when a limiting belief, painful memory, or part become active, it's like gophers that pop up on the field, creating holes in a particular sequence on the field. You can treat the emotion by gradually smoothing over the gopher holes a little at a time with a feather in the remembered sequence repeatedly until all the holes disappear, leaving a smooth playing field. Subconscious, please note the advantages and reasons for treatment and teach it to the treatment team and any parts that wake up and any aspects that are blocking treatment. The reasons for treatment are for more satisfaction and less pain, to stop intrusions, to stop losing time, to prevent the main personality from dissociating important information, and to allow all parts to run the body all of the time without conflict. And because a mono unified personality works best. Subconscious, when I ask you to do a massive change history, here's what is included in that intervention. Please do a change history of memories 1, 2, 3, any other memory in any system, including the ego states and tandem memories, and treat the shadow memories. Okay, let's choose that you will have a great result and let go of any resistance around feeling safe, which will allow for vibrant health and well-being, that all levels of your consciousness will get on board and join the treatment team and participate in becoming the conscious creator of your life, so that we shift any structures that are getting in the way of that. Subconscious, please bring into the active experience all resistance towards feeling safe and at ease, this true choice. Please bring it all into the active experience and please treat all the beliefs, emotions, part-time personalities, and memories, and do a massive change history and everything as needed. Thank you. Just keep breathing and notice what you notice as your subconscious is gently working to neutralize it all and let it all go. Subconscious, do you see the metaphor of being stuck, heaviness, sitting in a chair and not being able to get up and take even one step forward? Do you see this? Subconscious, please treat this metaphor and please find the original event for when this resistance was created. Please tag and treat and do a massive change history and everything as needed. Just keep noticing your breath gently and easily and whatever else is happening inside you, and know that it's all perfectly fine and safe, whatever that is. Subconscious, please notice and treat any broken promises in relation to this choice. Promises around protection and support, love and relationships. Subconscious, please go ahead and tag any and all memories around broken promises, particularly as it relates to family relationships. Please look down the maternal and fraternal family lines, noticing entanglements in DNA as it pertains to safety. Going right to the matriarch and patriarch who have the power to speak for the whole family line. Please treat how we represent these strong family members and the original event that caused this pattern. And please treat both family lines right up until right here and right now, and carrying right out into the future, changing this legacy. Please treat and do a massive change history in everything as needed, allowing space for change, allowing space for healing, allowing space for calm, relaxation, freedom, and safety. Now I want you to notice that you are a huge snow-covered mountain, and all the resistance that you feel towards feeling safe and at ease is an avalanche. And just like an avalanche, it is inevitable that all that resistance is rolling down the mountain. It can only go one way. And there is just so much power behind that movement. It rolls right down the mountain into the water below, melting into the water. Subconscious, please treat and do a massive change history and everything as needed. Thank you. Subconscious, please go ahead and notice any tension that may be present in the body right now. Any constriction or tightness in the chest and the heart, in the throat, and in the muscles of the body. From the top of the head right down to the tips of the toes. Please treat and do a massive change history, reassuring the whole body that it is okay to change, that it is safe and okay to soften and relax, like butter melting in a warm pan. Subconscious, please treat the limbic system, the autonomic nervous system, the endocrine system, all energy centers, and all other body systems involved in stress regulation. Please treat and do a massive change history, allowing them to come back into balance and flow, like a pendulum swinging back and forth until it settles in the middle, ready to respond, but always coming back to balance, back to center. Good. Now I want you to consciously step back into your choice of feeling safe and at ease, knowing how to and choosing to soothe yourself as you move through your life. Relaxed, calm, safe, feeling healthy and vital, energetic and resilient. This is your life now. You get to live this way, having fun, spending quality time with people you care about, moving your body in ways that feel good to you, eating wonderful, beautiful food, spending time doing things that light you up and feel purposeful to you, and choosing to feel grateful for all of this, for your life, and even meeting the inevitable ups and downs of life with grace and gratitude. Subconscious, please reinforce these feelings, these experiences, these ways of being with all the empowering emotions and beliefs that support this choice and this outcome. Please treat and do a massive change history. Thank you. Subconscious, please treat the following statements. I can feel relaxed and at ease. I am capable of soothing myself and feeling safe. I will soothe myself and feel safe. I am relaxed and at ease. I am safe. Please treat any resistance to these statements, including any secondary gains and intentions, and do a massive change history in everything as needed. Letting go of any and all remaining resistance, letting it wash away like water off of a duck's back. So now you are it. You have it. Safety, relaxation and ease, abundant health and well-being. Feel the appreciation and gratitude that is there for this state. And now I want you to look back at yourself, meditating in your current reality, and ask yourself, what was the next step that you needed to take to move into this state of calm, peaceful relaxation with vibrant health and resiliency? Just notice what comes up for you. What is the next action step you can take to move in this direction? Just notice and take it in. Subconscious, please treat all memories, all events in the past and the present, all timelines, and anything else that is revealing itself and lingering here as resistance to feeling safe. Please treat and do a massive change history and everything else as needed. Please treat and then ground everything that we have touched here today into the earth, allowing us to move towards a life filled with joy, appreciation, gratitude, compassion, and self-love. Great. Now, when you are ready, gently take a long, slow breath in through your nose and let it out slowly through your mouth with a nice long sigh. And take as much time as you would like to rest in this feeling of calm. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes, come back into your body, into your life, feeling calm, relaxed, and safe. Okay. I hope everyone really enjoyed that. And we're going to make ourselves available right now to answer any questions you may have, if you have any right now. But we know that usually this process leaves a lot of people feeling very blissed out, and it could even be difficult to think straight. So if that's where you are, that's okay too. You're welcome to follow up with us at a later time if you'd like. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. We appreciate your attention. Have a great evening.